Hey, what's up, boxing fans? This is the Rope a Dope Report. I am your host, Chris Carlson. I'm back with another upload. It's been a while since I did one. I'm definitely going to try to get on, online, on my YouTube channel and upload more for the late spring and summer fights coming up. Anyway, we're live post fight. Lomachenko, Linares turned out to be a pretty good fight. Kind of worked the opposite in which the way it played out kind of worked the opposite what I thought and what a lot of people I talked to and saw thought as well. How Linares got in the fight later rather than in it earlier. Anyway, um, it was a good fight, really good fight. I thought, well, I shouldn't say really good fight, like it was just some great fight, but it was a good fight. It was competitive, but it took a while to get there. Linares fought close in not necessarily close quarters like he was trying to get on the inside. He actually started a little bit aggressive at the start. You had Lomachenko moving, but that only lasted for like a round, and slowly but surely it was Lomachenko at least taking the lead, or a lot of the action was in the center of the ring. And you did see Linares move a little bit later. He didn't necessarily let his hands go enough. But like I was saying, I thought maybe the first handful of rounds, maybe 3 or 4 rounds, that Linares' style would be different than anything Lomachenko had seen as a pro, as far as footwork and his offense and his combination punching. He'd faced Russell, but Russell's a little different than Linares as far as offensively and style of fighter and whatnot. And I thought Linares would, I thought Lomachenko would have to actually adjust a little bit to Linares for like 3, 4 rounds. And then Lomachenko would take over the fight. Well, it's kind of the opposite. In fact, I think it was like, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my scorecard, I gave him the first 5 rounds, Lomachenko. Obviously, the jab, he was landing some left hands as the rounds went on. They became better, definitely working the body really well. I mean, Linares was landing in spots the first round or two. He was missing a lot. Then he'd like have maybe a good early part of the round and then score late, but just not enough. Lomachenko by the third and fourth, though, using his footwork, creating those angles coming forward. Um, and you could see slowly but surely, even though Lomachenko was still landing the better shots, especially to the body, just quick combinations and then some flush shots too, bloodying up the nose. Hadn't quite cut him for, early in the fight anyway. Started swelling by the mid rounds and then later they'd get cut. It turned out to not bother Linares much though, because Linares in the sixth round actually landed some really, good right hooks and some nice body shots as well. So did speaking of the right hook, that was one of the besides the jab and at times the uppercut, but I'd say overall the right hook for Lomachenko was his best weapon. It was so effective all night, and he landed some right hooks in that sixth round. But it just seemed like the first 5 rounds, Linares just wasn't able to time him. And the more I thought about how I thought the fight was going to play out, like I said early, maybe the first couple rounds would be more of a two-way fight, and then Loma takes over. But the more I think about it, especially in this style of fight that they fought, you'd have to adjust obviously to Lomachenko. So it took 4 or 5 rounds for Linares to adjust to Lomachenko. So anyway, that sixth round though, with maybe 30 seconds left in that sixth round, just a nice straight hard right hand landed right on Loma, who came flat footed, kind of straight in, which is something you don't normally see. We were just talking about him creating those angles. Went down. It was a clean punch. He wasn't hurt, but it definitely, did something to him. I thought, though, in the seventh round, not that Lomachenko came out still looking hurt or faded all of a sudden, early in the seventh, like Linares should have jumped on him. But I thought he just wasn't busy enough in that round to just let his hands go. And it's funny because early in the round, he did. Even in the eighth round, he had early pressure, but then it kind of fell apart, and the pressure behind a stiff jab And like I said, more of those right hooks from Lomachenko took over the seventh and the eighth. The ninth was probably the best two-way round. I have to watch the fight again, but I think it was the best two-way round. Um, you had Loma just scoring points and just being busier, landed some really nice straight lefts, but Linares, for me, actually landed the bigger shots. A few nice right hands in a 3 or 4 punch combo, which I was like, whoa, Linares, you're actually throwing it. But that wouldn't last long. Linares actually in the 10th had a good start, but Loma started landing some hard combinations. And then it was like, I don't know, 7, 8 straight shots in a row that all landed accurate and most of them hard, kind of mixing up the right hook to uppercut to body shot to right hook. And then it was a left, perfectly landed left hook to the body, dropped him and stopped him. Couldn't get up from it. And what's kind of strange is on the scorecards, they were talking about this because I thought, they're not going to do an interview because they went to a commercial break, came back, and they mentioned this in the interview that the scorecards had it basically a draw. They had one for Linares, one for Lomachenko, and one a draw. So that's pretty crazy. Obviously, it would have changed in that 10th, but that's kind of crazy. I mean, I had it, what I have, 5, maybe the 9th and the 6th round are probably the ones I could say, okay, you got to give them, the 6th. Even if you only give him a 10-9 and you don't think he got a 10-8 because you don't think he won the round or whatever, obviously the best shot of that round for me won him that round. So I gave him a 10-8, but that's 9 rounds, 7-2 tops, 6-3, I should say tops, but 7-2 I could see with an extra point, but that kind of surprised me. Anyway, great performance by Lomachenko. Him getting knocked down, though, you wonder if you go, well, that Pacquiao fight at 140 is off the table now. It does sound like he's going to take on who is it? Oh, Beltran, Ray Beltran, for unification, which is what that would turn out to be. I heard something like August or something like that, which I understand it's another unification fight. Having Garcia and Easter Jr. fighting here in the summer. Sounds like July or August potentially. That would unify there, and then you'd have the winner of that fight with the winner of the Beltran fight sitting there, lined up for a December fight right after that Heisman Trophy lead in on ESPN. But obviously that's a perfect world, and this is boxing. So, but no, I really thought that for the most part anyway, Lomachenko looked really, really good. One troubling thing I heard about Arum, though, or I heard not about him, but him say, was that he's thinking about testing. I think he said this on Woodsy's podcast, Talk Box, how he said that they're thinking about testing Lomachenko out on pay-per-view. And that really, for Beltran, you're going to test him out on pay-per-view? And I understand it actually could make some money or whatever, because these guys don't make a ton of money. But it just doesn't line up with this exposure thing. You already got Crawford and Horn, not getting the exposure it should be. It should be on, normal ESPN. You're putting it on the app. I understand for ESPN that's smart for them, for the app and all that. Don't get me wrong. I get that. But it does suck for exposure for Crawford, obviously, and Horn, respectively. So I really hope that's just on normal ESPN. There's no point. He's just now putting butts in seats. Why limit him to a pay-per-view? Especially when, a lot of this Bob Arum top rank ESPN thing, he kept talking about exposure and how this is why he's going there, and the pay-per-view is a thing of the past, and this, that, and the other, because as it's scheduled right now, if you look at the late June and early July cards, they're the main events are pretty weak on ESPN. You don't hear the media, mainstream media, or even the mid-level media really talking about it, but they're not really good. Of course, if it was the PBC, people would be all over it. Not to say that they're perfect, because they have all sorts of different types of cards over the years, but you got to call a spade a spade. But anyway, off topic here. I really would like Lomachenko to be on normal ESPN, but I was saying if he's on pay-per-view, and then they have that Pacquiao-Matisse fight on pay-per-view, that'd be 2 pay-per-views before they even use the ABC outlet, through ESPN. So it's that would kind of suck for the first year to already have 2 pay-per-views. One of them that has no business being on pay-per-view, especially like he's, the exposure, the part of Lomachenko. Like put him on ABC then or something, Put him on ESPN. That's what I say, and then do the pay-per-view against Pacquiao or something like that later in December or some other time. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here. The undercard was actually pretty interesting. Carlos Adames, he had a tough fight. Well, not early against Alejandro Barrera, but the first 4 to 5 rounds, it was really all, what is it, Carlos Adames. He was landing really nice hooks, counter right hands, or just lead right hands. Some body stuff from Barrera. He was trying to make it a more of a competitive fight, but the hard right hands and just overall talent from Carlos Adames, he was just winning the fight. I didn't even actually. I think it was until the 6th round. Then you start to go, okay, hang on. Carlos is slowing down some, and now it's more 2-way action throughout the round. And Barrera actually closed that 7th round really strong, and I started giving him. I mean, I gave him the 7th. The 6th was, like I said, that was the turning point for me all the way, and then the pressure in the hard right hands of his own. But I did give Adams. How do you say his last name again? Adames. I don't know. Anyway, I did give him the last round. So I had about 7-3, 6-4. Scorecards had it 97, 93, 96, 94, 98, 92. He outlanded Barrera 191 to 149. So he's a prospect, still a work in progress. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. If you like what you hear, check out the Rope It Up Radio podcast anytime. You can archive it. We do it live every Wednesday at blogtalkradio.com/Rope It Up Radio. Obviously, it's on iTunes or Stitcher or Spreaker or TuneIn or Player FM. Anywhere you like to listen to pods, we're there. Check out the gruelingtruth.net as well. We're part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network. Check it out, the gruelingtruth.net. I'm going to get out of here. Peace.